Hey everyone, it's Pops Reviews, and I'm back here with another review. And as you can see, what I'm going to review here, Glory Days Boxing, bringing the excitement of the ring to your tabletop. So I am a boxing fan, and I'm not going to say a historian because I'll get into that later about the difference between fan and historian. But I am a fan. I've loved boxing since the mid '80s. I would say. I mean, I knew about Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and those fighters, but I really didn't get into it more until the days of like Mike Tyson, and guys like Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Shane Mosley, um, some of the Evander Holyfields and Lennox Lewis's. So I was more a fan, in that time period. Obviously knew of fighters of old days of Jack Dempsey and Joe Louis and all those great fighters, Rocky Marciano. So I am a fan of boxing. I know boxing. I watch it every now and then. It seems to be a sport that you have to be a diehard to watch it nowadays. With some of the fighters that are currently in the ring right now, of course, with UFC and MMA kind of taking over a little bit more. It always seems like kind of like boxing is a dinosaur sport in a sense for fighting, but if you have two great boxers going at it, boxing is still very much enjoyable to watch. Um, so with all that being said, so yes, I'm a fan of boxing, and I've been seeing a few other YouTubers play boxing games. A friend of the channel, Al Red Sox. I see Al Red Sox fan. I see him playing some boxing games and that, and I was always wondering like why didn't I maybe have why don't I have a boxing game? I like boxing. And it's in the game format. So I decided I would take the plunge and buy a boxing game. Now I have another boxing game I'm actually still waiting for. It actually still is actually will be here possibly tomorrow actually that I will have, but it was taking quite a while, taking a good few weeks for it to come. So I was really wanting to play the game, but I'd heard so much about Glory Days Boxing. This game is made um, by Anthony Crooks, and he's had help, I guess, from a fellow. If I'm seeing special thanks to people like Al Sorno Jr. Um, and testing and research Matthew Lee for quality assurance. So, but Anthony Crooks is the guy behind this. He has a channel called uh, Bleacher Bum uh, Gaming, I believe that's called, and he's a very good guy. He is a historian. I think when it comes to boxing, he did a lot of homework on this game. I'm sure it shows with the quality and the gameplay of the game, and this is a very good game here if you want to get into a nice kind of easier boxing game, because there's a lot of boxing games out there that I'm seeing that are kind of convoluted, and he's trying to make it a little easier to play, and I totally respect that. This here, I'm doing a review on his game here, Glory Days Boxing, and this is a little different because this is actually a PDF version that I got of the game. So the story is that I live in Canada, and so I wanted to get this game, and I saw that it was initially delivering in the states. So so seeing that, I sent an email asking about would you guys ship to Canada, but uh, at the time I didn't really I get an email quickly, and I don't know, I really wanted to play a boxing game. I was really wanting to get into a boxing game here and get it going, and so I talked to my wife, and she gave me the okay to be able to buy the PDF version. So I want to give the realism of buying a PDF game if you're not totally familiar. Because if you buy a game from a website, and you get the game, you obviously get all the components and all that, and dice and whatnot. And with this, a PDF, you have to, transfer files onto a USB stick, or, like if you have the right equipment and paper stock to do it on your own, that is wonderful. That is great. More power to you if you're able to do that. I don't have that kind of that kind of backing, or I don't have those resources of a awesome printer and a lot of cardstock lying around and that kind of thing. So I had to go and print this out at my local Staples. But getting to that, I'll just get to that more in a sec here. So this is the rule book of the game here. So I printed this out. This is a 8-page rule book, and it shows you that you have a table of contents here. Now the great thing is it's only 8 to 9 page rule book. I just got the other game I'm getting, Title Bout 2. I believe is a 52-page rule book, and so to have a 8 to 9 page rule book on a boxing game is like, wow, this is great. Should be easy to get into, and we'll get more into that in just a sec as well. But so you have your table of contents here, and it kind of shows you what you're going to need with your game here. So there's some of the realisms of the game if you are buying it as a PDF version. So you're going to have to print out all this. You have to print out the rule book, and you also will have to get your own dice. So it shows that you're going to need 5 dice for the game. One D6, a red and a blue. So so a red and a blue. So you're going to need 2 of them, but 1 red, 1 blue. So because you're going to have a blue corner and red corner fighter, then you're going to need 2 1D 10 dice, and 1 D20 dice. So sorry, so I read it wrong with the D6s. You have 2 of them, 1 D6, but it's good to have the red and the blue, which I showed. And then you're going to need a 10D dice that preferably has the dice going up by 10s. And you're also going to need another 10D dice where it's singles. Now, you can, if you're creative enough and you don't, want to spend additional money, if you have like 2 10D dice, then you could try and roll, 2 10Ds together, and then, say this is the red one is the 10, and then the blue is the single, and then you could use it that way if you want. But again, it's just probably easier just to probably get a single dice, and then you're just reading it nice and easily, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. And then it's good to have it says 1D20, but I went and I had a blue one from before with my Batman game for keeping score, and then I got a red one. So then you could use the one for the blue corner, one for the red corner, and this comes into play, you'll see later as we go along, for fouls and cuts and power and that sort of thing. So we'll get into that later, but so you'll get that, and then this game initially offers 100 all-time heavyweight boxer cards, and there are additional sets, as he says here in the game. There are plenty of additional sets, plenty of fighters in this game. We're going to go to that in a sec as well. You're going to get a master game chart. So you have your initial playboard here. So this is going to be your key here is your playboard for keeping score of the red and the blue fighter and punches landed. Sorry for the glare if you're seeing that. You're also going to have your time, because time is going to be going down. There is for each round there's 9 segments in a round, so you're gonna be keeping track of that. And then you also have your judges scoring here, and you have a cut swelling chart. There is a stoppage time. In case, I haven't run into that just yet, but there is stoppage time, I guess, if you had to roll dice for that. And then you also have a foul chart for the different fouls that are there. And then, for each time, if you were to get that foul, what would happen. So you have that. This is essentially how you're keeping your score. And another thing that you're going to be keeping score on, too, is in boxing, they have these score charts. So you're going to have your score charts here. So as you can see, you have to write it out here of who's fighting. So I have Deontay Wilder. He's going to be scoring off against David 2 in a heavyweight tussle. And so you're able to write down their traits from their cards. I'll show you the cards in just a sec as well. And then you could have also, there's different ways to keep track of the fight down here as well if you want to. For the 9 segments, if you want to keep track of the fight differently with the timer. And then you also have, you could write in the referee. So there is a chart also. There's another chart here that you get. And I just put it in a sleeve here just so it would keep nice. I just printed it on regular paper stock. So here you see you have the referees that you're able. You could roll a d20, and if you wanted to get fancy and wanted to have a random ref, you could totally pick the ref, or just not even necessarily have to pick a ref. Just play it as is kind of thing. But if you wanted, you could have these different refs. And they tell you what career. So if you wanted to have an old school ref, a new school ref, whichever, how many fights they've had and that, and then what they do into the fight. So they give different ratings for fouls, what adjustments for fouls and that, as well as the stoppages when it comes to TKOs and that sort of thing. So maybe I'll come back to that. And also there's also judges. So when you're scoring a fight, there's columns here for your fighter for punches landed, knockdowns, injuries, fouls, and then the judge 1, judge 2, judge 3. They're kind of like blanked out a bit, but that's what they are for. In the middle's your rounds. So in this game, you could go from 10 to 15 rounds. And I'll talk more about that, about fighter stamina when it comes to that. I have listed for I'm probably going to play a 12-round fight. So they have stamina of Deontay Wilder has a stamina of 75. Tua has a stamina of 70. Deontay Wilder actually has a stamina of 85 for a 12-round fight, but Tua, his trait is actually called Mauler, which is to subtract 10 from the opponent's stamina to start the fight. So instead of Wilder being an 85, he's gone down to 75. So Tua and him are right in each other's stamina range here. And then you see Deontay Wilder, his trait, Iceman, has one-shot power, +1 to opponent's chin KO rating. So those are their traits. I'll get back to those because they probably don't make sense here right now, but I will get back to that in a sec. But this essentially is your chart. You're going to be writing down at the end of the 9 segments of a round. You're going to be writing down the judge's score. You roll dice here on this chart, and it will tell you if there's whatever the punch differential is between the fighters, and then you'd roll a d20 just to see. So let's say there was a 1 to 4 punch difference between the fighters. So you'd roll the d20, you'd see a 16. So the first judge, 16 on a 1 to 4, would actually give it to the the loser of the round. So that would be a 9-10 round for the loser. Okay, so you can get all these kind of random judges here. You'd roll the next dice, and then the 13 for the next judge. Oh, the next judge also gives it a 9-10. So not necessarily the guy that's outlanded here 1 to 4 punches as one. You would think he would win on the judge's scorecard because he has more punches, but you roll the dice, and now it's the 2 judges have given it to the loser 9 to 10. So a winner in a round is 10-9, but the loser, they're giving it to the loser 9-10. And then the third judge is a 16. So all 3 judges to the loser. So that's to tell you the kind of judging, the way judging could go in a fight, especially when you're rolling random dice here. And if you're playing, if you want, fighters, they want to have more points, so to keep it out of the judges' hands, essentially, right? But this is, this is a game, but you're kind of seeing almost that realism that they're kind of bringing to you in this game, that Anthony's bringing to you. So you have your score keeping that you have to do in between the rounds. You also will get another chart here for events. So you have this event chart here, and this is a 1 through 99. So you'll roll the dice on here. You'll roll 2 10-sided dice, and you would get the events here. This is the rare event chart. So this is this side of the chart here. If you were to roll a 0 to 9, you would go to the rare event, and then you'd have to roll on this, and then whatever would happen here, you'd roll on that, and that would be the outcome. So these are things that don't, this side here is, they don't usually happen really in a fight. This is like rare, super rare, and you can only use this once. And this is, things that could happen, but you haven't rolled a 99, I think, to get to this part of the chart here, to get to these events. So these are also pretty rare too. But so you get this chart. So this is a rare event chart, and you also will get to print out a Glory Days Boxing quick play chart. So this is something I haven't used, and I probably will. I don't know if I'll ever use, but I laminate it just to keep it nice, so you could see the rules nice and everything. This is something I probably wouldn't really use, but if you wanted to, I guess, have a quick play of a boxing game, because this game goes roughly around close to an hour, depending on the length. If you play maybe a 10-round fight, it might be, within the hour. If you go a little longer, 12 to 15 rounds, it could be over an hour. And then depending on the flow of the game, if there are any knockouts, anything like to that nature, how fast you know the rules in the game, then it could go by pretty quick. But this is if you want to play it even quicker, then there's rules that you could use to play this here. But I haven't really experimented with this, so I can't really comment too much on this. But this is part of the game here that you're able to print out if you want to play a quick play session. So you have all that. So now let's get to the crux of the game. So and we also have, just to go through the rule book here. So I did print out this rule book, and so it is an 8-page rule book. I took it to Staples, and they're supposed to they were supposed to print it double-sided, but they printed a few pages single-sided, especially the color part. We wanted, because we don't have a color printer, so we wanted to make sure and get this in color. And it goes through, the different stats and whatnot on the player's card here. So you're going to see a player's card here, and I'll show you the other ones that I'm going to be using. So they go through rules, and it's only an 8-page rule book, and it goes through the rules. I would say pretty good. You could, muddle your way through a fight the first time, and but there are some things too that aren't straightforward. So I will get back on the rule book here. So, but it is an 8-page rule book. So which is, I started printing double-sided since we had a black and white printer at home. So the rest of it I did double-sided. Yeah, but it goes through quite a bit here, and like I said, compared to a 52-page rule book, it is a lot less daunting to think like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be overwhelmed with all these like different scenarios and different things that could happen in a fight and that. And Anthony has made this game and simplified it that you could play. It's a simple card and dice game and kind of just get it going. So again, we have the main play area here. So for this too, I had to buy also a couple markers for this game. So you're going to have to keep track of the red corner of the fighter in the red corner. You have to keep track of his punches landed. So I bought these clear markers here. They only costed about like $15 at my gaming store. Yeah, or not $15, sorry, 15 cents. Sorry, $15. Who am I kidding? 15 cents at my local gaming store. And so I thought they were kind of cool to probably maybe keep track. And then I have one for the rounds to keep track of the rounds for each segment here. So, and then you will have player cards. So these here, I'll just show you the one here. So here's a Deontay Wilder card. So this here also is the meat of the game because each fighter has been handled with care by Anthony, and you could tell because you could tell he's a real fight fan, a real fight historian, that he made sure and put care into this here. So they have the fighter's name, the division that he's fighting in. So Deontay Wilder is a heavyweight, HW, and then they have his record. there was one record on here. My boy Mike Tyson. I saw he was undefeated on his card. So not sure about that, Anthony, but so they have their record here. So showing 42 wins, one loss, one draw, and then the 41 is the knockouts that he's had. So 40 out of his 42 wins, 41 were by knockouts. So this guy is a knockout artist. He will lay you out. So in this game, you're gonna roll a 6-sided die, so one of the red or blue dice. So for Deontay Wilder, because he was a champ, I'd probably put him in the red quarter, because the red corner, when rolling the dice, if it's a tie, the red corner gets the initiative. So since he was a champ, they both also, here's another thing to go by, that there's a star rating for each of their ratings here for outside, inside, outside. And this is different on each fighter's card. So even if you go to Tua's card here, you're going to see that his card starts on the top of inside, outside, inside, outside, inside. So, and then they're both rated the same. I believe they both have 8 stars. So yeah, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So both 8 stars. And then there's one area on a card here. So for this one, there's like not a star. So this is his only weakness here. It will be this inside. And for Tua, his weakness is on the same 5 on the outside. This could be different for every fighter, though. Different fighters, their one weakness is mixed up within. And then you can see that Wilder is more of an outside fighter, possibly, because he has 2 stars on the outside. He has 1 2-star on the inside and 1 2-star on the outside. So he's probably looking more to fight from the outside. His ratings are probably better on the outside. Tua is more of an inside fighter. He was more of a Mike Tyson. They call him the Samoan Mike Tyson. He's more probably an inside. So he has 2 stars for the inside on a 6 and a 1, and then not really wanting to fight on the outside, but they have a rating for him on the outside. So you're trying to roll dice here against each other to see who will get what's called the ring generalship. So whoever has the ring generalship will have momentum. And then another dice I'll have keep track here is the momentum dice. So, if a fighter, you roll the 2 dice here. So we'll roll the 2 dice just to start off the game, just so you see. So blue is Tua, and red is Wilder. So Wilder rolled a 3, and so you look at his 3 on his card, and it'd be 2 stars inside. Tua rolled a 4 on his card, and his card would be a 1 on the inside. So the 3 would go to Wilder on the inside. So he would roll dice. Okay, so we would get him rolling a D10, to the 2 D10s, and this. So we get him rolling this here, and he would have the momentum initiative here. So you'd roll the dice. And then you would look, so his, again, is, so you'd put it here. So there's a 42 that he rolled with an 8. So if we looked at that, now we know he's rolling 3 on the inside. So on the inside, you'd look at his stats here. So 3, and then he rolled a 42 for the inside. So his 42 on the inside misses, because you could see here his inside shots only go up to 24 to 38 or less, and then the 42 is actually a missed shot. That goes right there in that column. So you would see 39 to 82 on the inside is a miss. So the opponent gets the counter. So now we would look at Tua and his counter ratings. So, and this red dice means nothing because he missed a shot. And if you were looking at the red dice, though, if he did hit, the red dice would symbolize Deontay Wilder's power. So if he had rolled a 6, and then he has this 1-shot power +1 to opponent's chin KO rating, but we'll get to that in a sec. But if he had rolled a 6, and if he had hit, then Tua would have to make a knockdown check. So we would have to do that for Tua, make a knockdown check. So that would be the next column underneath the power, would be the chin KO. So for Wilder, if a 2 was rolled, he would get knocked down. And then after the 5 in the brackets means if he was from a 3 to a 5, if he rolls that, then he would be stunned. Not knocked down, but he would be stunned. And if either of these numbers are rolled, then the opponent would be able to make an extra roll, an uncontested roll for the next segment of the round, providing that the round hasn't ended. That he would be able to make an extra roll and try and do more damage to the fighter. So if he does that, then if the red dice is rolled again, the d20, now Deontay Wilder's power would go up from a 6 to an 8. So now there's a 2-point increase into what's called his killer instinct to try and really knock down or knock out Tua. So that's what the power is. So the first one of power is the initial power to try and get a knockdown, and then the second slash, the 8, he's hurt or stunned. Then you would make a chin check, or you'd even go to a will check. So, and then you have your chin rating. That's the next column. So if a 2 is rolled, that means Deontay Wilder would he would be knocked down. If a 3 to a 5 is rolled, then he would be stunned, and either way he would be giving up a free action to Tua for the round. Then you have your chin KO. So if you are knocked down, right? So now you would have to make a chin KO check to see if he's knocked out. So if he rolls a 3 and under, then Deontay Wilder would be knocked out. The fight would be done. Your will check is if you were knocked down or stunned, and the fighter makes an uncontested roll and he lands 3 or more punches on you, then you'd have to make a will check, and if you rolled a 5 and under, then the referee would stop the fight. You cannot go on. You're not protecting yourself. Then you have your cut rating. So sometimes on here, so if you roll a 19 or 20 on the D20, then you would look at the cut rating, and then you would Wilder would roll the D20, and if a 4 or less came up, then he would get cut. Then he would have to roll on the cut chart. So then he'd roll a D20, and then all these different cuts, swelling, gashes, bloody nose, whichever he rolls here would apply, and then you have to write it on the sheet, on your score sheet. And then there's fouls. So if you roll a foul, so a foul under here is a 95 to 98. So if you roll a foul, if he rolls a 3 and under, then he's fouled, and you'd have to roll and on this chart here for fouls, and then depending on what he rolls, then you'd have to write that down that he committed whichever foul. So that's essentially the chart. And then he has this trait Iceman, 1-shot power, so +1 to opponent's chin KO rating. So you could see Tua's chin KO rating is a 1, so now that would go up to a 2. So he's more likely, he has a better chance to get knocked out, because already a 1 is hard to roll, but now it's increased by 1. So now Wilder might have a better chance of knocking out Tua, because now it's up to a 2. So you have your inside, and you have your inside and your outside ratings, and they have the same text in between some of them, or they are between some of them here. So this tells you, like if you roll a 0 to 1 on the inside, it's a series of jabs and crosses, score 5 points. If you roll a 0 to 3 on the outside, it's a series of jabs and crosses, scores 5 points landed. So if you did roll that, you would just mark it down on the sheet here. You scored 5. So now you know that you landed 5 punches. So, Tua wouldn't land any. So, so that's how you would score the fight here. You're scoring, by rolling the dice and seeing what the text says for you and how many punches you land. Then you also have defense. So if Tua was hit, providing that he didn't have to make a chin check or a will check or a cut check, then he's able to roll a defense dice. So if he rolls a 1 to a 2, then you would subtract 1 from that. So if he did roll a 1 or 2, then you would subtract 1. So now Wilder would be at 4 punches landed. So he has a 1 to 2. If there's also, he could add to his score. So if he did roll a 3 or a 5, now he's adding 1 to Wilder's punches. So instead of the 5, it'd be up to a 6. And then you have your fouls and a cut and swelling. We talked about that. You have, from here, you have your misses. So you would check opponent's counter. So if he misses from 47 to 82 or 35 to 90 on the outside, you would roll. If he misses, you'd roll a d20, and then if it's let's say the counter here for Tua is a 1 to 3. So if he rolls a 1 to 3 on the d20, then he's able to get a 2-point hook. And if he did that, that would also switch the momentum in the fight. So then, then it would be, you'd be looking at Tua's numbers first before Wilder's for momentum. So that's another thing you'd want to talk about. The momentum here is important because the momentum, whoever has the momentum, once you have a roll here and you resolve everything, the clock would go down, and then you re-roll the red and blue dice. You re-roll the red and blue dice, and then you look at the person's momentum. So let's say Tua did land the last punches there on Wilder. Then you would look at his dice and see, like, okay, he rolled a 4. It's on the inside. Wilder rolled a 3. It's on the inside. So then Wilder would get momentum. So you'd switch it to him, and then you'd resolve Wilder's inside action here, for the 2 stars that he has. So if both guys roll the same, so let's say again, Wilder rolled a 3, so he has 2 stars. But let's say Tua rolled a 6, and he has 2 stars. So this means they would go toe to toe. So they both would roll the d10s plus their own d20, and they would roll, and they would go what's toe to toe. So they both would get actions to try and hit each other. So then you would see. Here's a roll that he had here. Wilder, he would go first because he had the momentum. So you would look on the inside, and then see, look, he rolled all zeros. So this is a big shot. This is a series of jabs and crosses. He scores 5 punches landed, and then he also rolled a 1. So this is a possible knockdown. Tua would have to roll, because this is kind of simultaneous. So Tua would have to roll. So he'd roll his dice. He'd roll a 50, and he'd roll a single dice. So let's say he rolled a 55. So that would be on the inside for Tua, because it was initiated by Wilder's inside. So they both are fighting on the inside. So then you look at Tua's 55 on the inside. It's a miss, and so he would do nothing. But then you would have to make a check on Wilder. He rolled a 1 previously, which is in his power. So Tua would have to make a knockdown check. So now you'd roll a blue dice or whichever d20 you have, and it's an 8. So that his chin check for Tua is a 1. So Wilder would have landed the punches, but he wouldn't be knocked down, and then you would move on to the next segment. So that would be an example of a toe to toe. There's there could be cuts, there could be knockdowns, but you have to resolve because both fighters are going toe to toe, so they both are able to get their actions. One other thing here too. So another thing is a clinch. So if he roll an 83 to 94, then a clinch happens. So both fighters kind of hug each other, and then the timer would go down, and that would be it. You wouldn't really if there was a toe to toe and the other fighter was to go, he wouldn't be able to go because a clinch happened. And if it was the other way, where the first fighter landed punches and then the second fighter clinches, then essentially his punches would go away because he was clinched. He wasn't able to get off those shots. I play it where the first fighter had the advantage. He was able to fire, and then the other boxer clinched. So the punches did land, but then he hugged, but he doesn't get his own actions because he got hurt, and then the clock would move on. So you're moving the clock after each segment. Once you get into the flow of the game, the clock starts to move easier. So that is essentially the game here. There's other things where you get into a little other minor rules and that, but essentially you're rolling the dice here. I'll kind of show more of an example here. So I'll just play a couple more segments just so you kind of get the idea. So let's, again, we have Wilder is in control. He has the momentum because he had landed the more shots. So right now he's leading 6-2 against Tua, right? So he has momentum, so we roll the 2 dice. So then you compare, he's Wilder's the red, Tua's the blue. So we look on his chart, we'll see that a 2, this is a 2, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is a 2 for Wilder. So 2 is 1 star on the outside. And then Tua has a 4 that he rolled. So Tua, you look at his 4, and it is a 1 star on the outside. So this is them going head to head because they both have 1 star. If one guy has 1 star more than the other, then he has the advantage. He would just get a roll for himself. But this here, they're going head to head. So Wilder gets control, and it's from the outside. So we would look at his outside rating. So we roll his red dice here. So we'll roll the red dice and then the single one. See what he gets. So he gets a 10. And again, this is on the outside. So he gets a 10. A 19 is a possible cut. So he's possibly cutting Tua. So we first of all resolve the punches here. So it was a 10 from the outside. So 10 from the outside. We look at the chart. Big shots to the head by Wilder. To the head and the body, 4 punches land. So he lands 4 punches. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll even keep track with this here just to show that he landed 4 punches. Okay, so then, and then a possible cut. We'll come back to the cut after, but Tua now gets to make his roll. So Tua makes his roll and this is from the outside because Wilder had the momentum. He dictated the pace. So Tua will roll. He gets a 51 with a 6 from the outside. So we go to Tua's card. 51 is he misses. So the power does nothing. His power is a 6, but because he missed, that just goes away. So now we'd have to resolve Tua being cut because Wilder rolled a 19 on the dice. And 19s and 20s are usually cut and swelling. So we have to roll a D20 for Tua. And Tua's cut is a 5. So a 5 and under would cut him. Or we'd have to go to his cut chart. And a 15, he would be fine. And we just move on. We'd move on the clock here. If he did roll a cut here, let's say he rolled... let's say he rolled under the 5 and then he rolled on the chart here for cut and swelling. So let's say you roll a 5, you look it up, swelling right eye. So then you'd write on the score sheet SRE in one of the spaces to show that Tua had swelling in the right eye in the first round. So this is essentially the game flow here. The clock goes down each segment here until you get to the end of the round. Then you score up you do the scoring on the sheets. It's the scoring is a point system. So we go to the sheets and it's a point system of scoring 10-9. You'd have to roll for the judges again. If you have a special judge, then you have to look at there. So for here, Adelaide Bird, if she roll 1 to 10, because the scoring was for the round a 10 to 2. So that's an 8-point difference. So then you'd have to roll on the 8-point difference for each judge chart. So 1 to 13, she'd roll in favor of Wilder. 14 to 20, she's rolling in favor of Tua. So that's essentially the game here, Glory Days Boxing. So that's now I want to go to a bit of the realisms here of buying the PDF here. So when you buy a PDF, you're gonna, you have to print off everything as you're seeing here, which I've done here. The cards here, now I'm going to show you here. I've printed off. This is just the heavyweight division of cards. I got them. So I bought all the expansions and different weight classes here. So this here is just the heavyweight division. As you can see here, I have my 2 cards here. And then you're seeing I have a whole stack of cards here. So this here, you're seeing a labor of love by Mr. Crooks here. They have all the different heavyweight fighters in here. I don't want to bend cards. I'm not, because I'm really finicky like that. But you're having all the different fighters in here from, they have Deontay Wilder, Tua, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Riddick Bowe, Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Ken Norton, you name them, they are in here. Even obscure fighters that I see, like Mark Gastineau and Ed Too Tall Jones from football, that are in here. So, and each fighter is rated differently. Each fighter has their own ratings and stars, and their own different number combinations and different setups for their punches and stuff like that are rated on here. So you're seeing the love letter to this game that he made, Glory Days Boxing, which is just awesome for being a boxing fan and historian. Um, so okay, so with that said, you have all these different heavyweight cards now, and to be realistic, this is just overkill, really, because you have so many cards here, so many different fighters, like the combinations to make here. I doubt you will get through all this, that even the other sets, but this is just awesome. This is just awesome to have, and to be able to play any match you want is just awesome. So that is something to know. But even to get to this point here, okay, because if you print off your own PDFs, you will essentially, you're gonna have cards that look like this here. Okay, if you don't get Staples or whoever to cut it for you, you will have to essentially cut your cards. So here's, like, as you can see, this is a full sheet of 6 fighters here. I Luckily my wife is a crafter, so she has a exact kind of a cutting machine, but I hadn't learned how to really use the cutting machine, so I did have some casualties here. So James Smith here, as you can see, I cut right off the side here. The blade wasn't really sharpened right, and I was still learning how to use this thing. So I had 3 casualty cards here. Vasily Jirov got cut off, and Bombardier, Billy Wells. So that's just the realisms of printing out your own cards, and your own game system. That if you don't know how to do things right, you could end up screwing up your game, right? So, and as you can see here, the lines are pretty thin. So if you have a scissors, I hope you know how to cut right, because the line is thin. The line is thin for the fighters here. So just be careful. If you're a good craftsman, good, how to. If you're a good hobby guy, then great. Or if your wife is into hobby making and stuff, great. Just be careful, because this is your game. So that's a realism of the game, that you have to get your own dice. You have to print your own cards. You have to cut your own cards, unless you pay Staples or someone to do that, but you're paying, extra fees for them to do that, right? So one other thing I would also complain about now, it's great that you have a 9-page, 8-page, 9-page, booklet for your game. That's awesome. Again, it's like kind of less daunting. The game is not so complicated in the flow of the game, or the rules of the game, but there are some little intricacies that it would have been nice to have. Probably more examples. There are examples, they'll give kind of like maybe 3 examples of a situation, and then but there are way more things that can happen, and it's kind of like, well, what happens here? Do you go back and roll? Do you what's the point system? Even if you're not a boxing fan and you're just getting into this, you don't even know what a point system is, probably, because it's not really explained, I don't think, properly in here. Or there's some of the head to head, the proper order of things to happen in it. It's not really properly explained. It's only, if you go and watch his actual videos, the Bleacher Bum Games videos, that you'll see is from some of the gameplays and tutorials that, okay, this is how this is kind of resolved and that. But maybe it would be nice if it was put into the rule book here, and that way it's good for easy access and better gameplay flow. If that was in here, that'd have been great. Or just put up look up video on YouTube, this video, and that kind of explains from this section. Like, at least if there was a better answer to some of the questions of the game, that'd have been a lot better. But and these are some minor things that I'm just kind of talking about because the game itself is awesome. The game, you could have any kind of matchup. You could play whatever weight divisions. If you want to purchase whatever division separately, that's totally up to you. And you're getting hundreds of fighters, over 1,000, I believe 1,000 fighters in this game. Like, it's just crazy. Who I don't know if you'd ever get through 1,000 fighters in a game. So that is just the attention that he did to bring these fighters into these stats, into these cards to be able to be played with, against each other is just that's just crazy. That's unbelievable. So, yeah, that's essentially Glory Days boxing. I've played about 4 matches already, mostly in the heavyweight division. I haven't cut the other cards, as you have seen. I have to cut through a lot of the other weight divisions, but I played a few matches. The first match was a learning curve. I played Holyfield and Tua. Holyfield was fouling a lot, but I wasn't making a lot of the foul checks. So I played that a bit wrong. The second fight I played was Tyson against Tommy Morrison. Tyson knocked out Morrison in the 3rd round. I think I did that right. And then I had to play a rematch of Tua and Holyfield because I wanted to play it right. And then it went to a 12-round split decision draw. So that was kind of cool. And then what was the last fight I played? Oh, Larry Holmes versus Joe Jeanette. I played that fight. I saw that on another channel. The guy was playing for another boxing game, so I thought I would try that out. And Holmes won by a split decision. So very cool. Like, I'm sure this is probably how it would probably play out. So it's kind of, I think with a lot of these games, a lot of these sports simulation games is your ability to be able to imagine, what's going on with the fights. That's I think the most important thing with these games is that your ability, your imagination to see what is going on. I think if you have that, if you're a fan of boxing, then this game will stand out to you. And again, the matchups are just unbelievable, and everything you could take the scoring, you could keep it as a regular, or you could start putting the Adelaide Birds and Harold Lettermans into your game, into the judges system, the referees, and you could try and start to make different combinations through that way and start spicing up your gameplay. But you could play it as is, or you could do all those things. It's totally up to you. But it's in the end too, it's not too hard to implement a lot of those things as well. So this is a great game. I've had a lot of fun playing it, and I hope I would just, like I said, I hope again with the rule book, it's great that you have an 8 and 9 page rule book. If it was maybe even 12 to 14 pages, it's still way under the 52 pages of the competitor rule book, right? So, so hopefully in future, he has another game coming out, Glory Days, football, I believe. It's a college football game that he's working on and going to be released soon. So please check that out on his channel, Bleacher Bum Games, and that looks to be a fantastic game coming out, and looks to be another simpler kind of system to be able to play football. So yes, this has just been a great game. I look forward to playing many more matches within this system, and yeah, so that's my video here. I'd probably give this game, if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd probably give it 8 to 8.5 out of 10. Very good game, very easy to play. Again, it would have been nicer to have a little more of a flow of the rule book, be able to look things up and find a little more access to what if things happen, or just a little more explanation to someone that doesn't know boxing, probably to explain some of the rules, point systems, that kind of thing, or just just the flow of two guys that are going toe to toe. What's the order? What's the ranking order for things to happen, or that kind of thing. So hopefully in future, maybe something like that comes out a little more of an FAQ, or hopefully for the football game, there maybe possibly is a better rule book coming out. But anyways, I just want to thank you guys for watching here. This game is a blast. Maybe I'll have a few playthroughs I'll try and do of this. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free to send them to me. I'll be more than happy to answer whatever I can. And yeah, again, this is a great game of boxing. This unbelievable, like I said here, unbelievable. This is just the heavyweight division, guys. Just the heavyweight division here. Look at that. Anyways, guys, hopefully I will have a video coming out soon. And I just thank you all for your support and watching my videos. And I just thank you again, guys. I hope this helps you in your decision to buy Glory Days Boxing if you buy a PDF version. If you live in Canada, he did come back and contact me, and he might be able to set up something for you if you wanted to actually have the game box and everything shipped to you. He might be able to work something out with you. So that's something. Maybe you could contact them with an email, and Anthony might be able to help you in getting that shipped to you if you didn't want to print off everything yourself and not have to search and get dice and that kind of stuff. But so thanks again, guys. I appreciate everything, and hopefully I will see you in the next video, and hope you like this one, and God bless.